Hi, and welcome to this training session on reporting and data exports. I'm Alice, Solutions Director for the UK and EU at Funraisin. Funraisin captures a rich set of structured data across your platform, everything from donor and fundraiser activity to registrations, payments, and custom fields. That means no matter your role, you've got powerful reporting capabilities at your fingertips. Before we get hands-on, here's what to expect. We'll cover the types of data that Funraisin collects and where to find it. We'll walk through how to create, filter, and schedule your reports, and we'll explore how to use SmartList for dynamic data views. This training is packed full of practical tips to help you work smarter, whether you're checking campaign performance, preparing reconciliation data, or tailoring communications based on donor behaviour. Let's jump in. Now I'm sharing my screen, but this is a demo platform, so none of the data on here is actual charity data that I am sharing. And the first thing we're going to touch on is your data sources. So fundraising captures a huge amount of structured data across your campaigns, and each of these data types feeds into specific reports. So it's important to begin by asking yourself, who is the report for? Is it for your finance team, your fundraising team, your donor care team? And what decisions will it support? And this will help you to use the right data source and structure the report so it's useful in the right way. So as you can see on my screen, I am in my data exports module, and this is a list of my current reports that I've set up, and you have type here, and type refers to the data source, so where that information is coming from. So for example, we've got fundraisers. A fundraisers report is going to give you insights on the entrance for your event, so it will have all their personal information that you've collected, but also things like how much have they raised, how many donations have they shared their page, any fitness they've logged. So it really builds up a picture of your individual entrants. We've got a transactions report, so that's best for reconciliation. That will put in all your transactions across your platform. So your donations, registration fees, merchandise, all of that. You can put in the details from Stripe, and it's great for finance teams to really get that end of campaign picture. You've got donations report, so great to see how your donors are behaving. This will put in the information about your donors, so any information you collect on them, details of the payment, how much it was, if they opted into an optional contribution, and also where the donation went. So if it went to an individual or a team, to a specific donation page, that's all within your donations report. And then you can see some other examples which we can touch on a bit later. So you might want to create more than one report to get the full picture of a campaign. So an example would be your fundraisers report and your donations report. So the fundraisers report will give you insights into the individuals and how much they've raised on the individual pages, but your donations report would give you a fuller picture of the donations received on a specific event, and that would include donations that might have gone directly to teams or directly to the event as a whole. So we'll touch on that to make sure that you get all the data you need to get all the answers that you need. The next thing we're going to do is create a custom report. So I'm in my data exports module, and to find that, on the left-hand side in the navigation under reporting, you've got data exports. When in your data exports module, all your current reports will be listed, and you'll have this green download arrow. So if you were to click on that, your report would download as a CSV. If you click the pencil icon, which we'll do shortly, that will open up the report so you can make edits. You've got the name of the report. You've got the type, so we touched on that before, that's the data source, so where the information is pulling from. And then we've got frequency. So by default, when you create a new report, it will say daily and inactive. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but that's all about scheduling it to send. It can be sent on different time schedules. The number of fields, so this is the columns as such when you download a report. A report with 0 fields will not download. You have to have at least 1 field in order for data to pull. We've also got time, so if it is a report that is being scheduled, you'll be able to see the time of day it's scheduled to send, if it's active, so if it's actively sending, and also the last time and date of when it was sent to you. So we're going to create a fundraisers report, and we'll go through the steps and what we can do. So if we click on new export here, so first thing we're going to do is choose from the data source. Now you can't, I don't think on my recording you can see the drop-down list, but there's a few options when we click data source. So I'm going to select the fundraisers data source, and then I'm going to give it a name. So with a name, call it something that's clear and purposeful. I sometimes see platforms which have lots of different admins, and the data exports module can get a bit messy with people creating lots of different reports for the same campaign and not giving them clear names that is obvious what each report is actually doing. So we're going to call it Fundraisers Summer Run, which is a demo event I've set up. And then we don't need to worry about the frequency. We'll cover that a little bit later on in the training. But we're actually going to go over to here to the pre-built templates. And what we can do is we can pull in some suggested fields to kind of get us going and to make the creation of this report much quicker. So I'm going to click on fundraisers so that it's blue, and then I'm going to hit save. And what this is going to do is it's going to pre-populate my report with suggested fields. So my report's now been created. I can still change that name at any time. Don't worry, that can always be amended. You cannot change the data source. So if you set up a report and it's the wrong data source, you have to create a new report. You can't change that, unfortunately. But if we go over here to export fields, now you can see all I've done is create the report, but I've got all these fields already. That's a great start. But the beauty is that I can completely customize this, completely edit it. This is just to get me started, but it is by no way set in stone. So with all these fields, you can see there is the pencil icon. So if I click on that, it will expand it. So you've got the field name. So that is, when you download your report, that is going to be your column title. We've got suggested ones, but you can rename them to whatever works for you. Some charities like to name the field names to match their CRM. So they might want the member ID, but they might want it member_ID. So that it matches their CRM if they're doing any importing, but it's totally up to you of how you want to name that. And then you've got the field value. So this is the data that's going to populate that specific field. Again, I don't think you can see this drop down on the screen, but clicking in this arrow will give you a huge list of options that you can choose to pull in. So currently this is pulling member ID, but I could change that to first name, for example. So you can just change it to whatever you need. And you can also just click remove field, give me a prompt, and the field is gone. You can also drag and drop. So if you set up a report and it's not quite in the right order, just drag and drop, move things around, not a problem. And like I said, click to edit, rename field, change the field value of what data is pulling in there, or delete it altogether. And then if we scroll down to the bottom, you have the option to add new fields. So let's say I want to include is active. So they've got a sort of active fundraising page, a live fundraising page. I could put, for example, my field name to be active ? And then when I download the report, it would either have a Y or an N value for these people. So you can keep adding additional fields. Just make sure you hit save before you download it so that all your changes are saved. So we've got all our standard fields. So the standard fields are, for example, in a fundraiser's report will be all the fields you can put into a registration flow. So people's personal details, if you're collecting their first name, last name, date of birth, their address, you can put all that in. You can also put in things like the team name, how much their team's raised, if they are linked to a charity, if you've got a multi-charity site, and you can also put in things like fitness and their interactions. So have they shared their page? Have they uploaded a profile picture? So you can start to see the correlation between how active people are on their fundraising page and how much they have raised. Within this drop down at the bottom, we also have web forms and custom fields. So many charities use web forms to add additional questions to the registration flow. So it might be a set of questions about why you're taking part, might be a set of questions about incentives. Web forms can be just about anything, but from that drop down, you'll be able to see the web form name and you can pull that into your report, and that will just populate. If you've got 5 questions in your web form, then that would populate as 5 fields in your report. You've also got custom fields. So custom fields are, again, additional questions that get asked in the registration flow. They have to be set up by Funraisin just because they are custom and the way they are built is slightly different. But again, they'll be at the bottom of that drop down. So if as a custom field, you're asking what your entrance dog's name is because it's going to appear on their fundraising page, that will be available in the drop down list to pull in. One really important thing is you cannot have 2 fields with the same name. So I had it like that. If I were to save this report and go back to export fields, see how now I've got 2 fields with the same name. If I were to download it, no data would pull for either of these fields. They could be pulling the same value, but the name has to be unique for each field. So I'm actually just going to remove that one. So now I've created my report. Like I said, you can change this at any time. Download it, check the data. If it's not quite the layout you want, or you want more fields, less fields, you're in control of that. And if we go back to export details, if we just scroll down, we're just going to go to the filter section. So you've got a couple of options here. You can filter by date range. So I could put the 1st of July to the 8th of July and then hit save. And then if I were to download that, because it's a fundraisers report, it would only give me fundraisers who registered between those two specific dates. And if it was a donations report or a transactions report, it would only give you transactions that were made in between those two dates. You can also filter by event. So I created this report for my summer run. So let's call it, it's our summer 10K. So if I were to then save that, and if I scroll back down, what this would be doing is it would be only looking for entrants who are registered in this specific event. And I would actually only be pulling them who registered between those two dates. But I'm going to remove those dates. So you might be what that you want just one event filter, but you can actually select multiple events to filter it by, or you can filter by event type, so DIY, online or offline, or DIY theme. So you might want all your entrants who are in a specific DIY theme. Just to note on these filters, you can either filter by event or event type or DIY. What you can't do is select one DIY theme and then some events. It just won't work. You can't select sort of multiple categories of this, just so you're aware. But once you've updated your filters, just hit save. So if we were to go back to browse exports, here you can see there's my new report. It's got its name, it's got the data source, so where it's coming from, and it's also got the number of fields. Now, what I'm going to do is just quickly create another report, but not use a template, just so you can see how that works. So I've got donations, summer run, so I can spell. I'm not going to choose a pre-built template. I'm just going to choose my data source and then hit save. So my report's been created, but if I go over to export field, you can see it's completely blank. Totally fine. Some people would rather completely start from scratch and build up that report. If you do build up a report that is really useful and is in a really great structure, then one thing you can do is in the top right here, you've got these three dots and you can copy export. So something that a lot of charities will do is they'll create a report for a campaign, and then for the next year, they might clone that report, make a few tweaks to it, obviously rename it, update the filters, but it's given them a bit of a head start. So that's us creating a report. Next, we'll touch on automating your report and getting that sent. So now that you've built your report, let's make sure it gets to where it needs to go on time and to the right people. Funraisin allows you to automate report delivery with a few simple settings. So we're in our data exports module, and I'm going to edit my donations report just by clicking on this pencil icon. First thing I need to do is set it to active. So that just means that it's actively sending. I then choose the delivery frequency. So this could be daily, or I can do weekly, or I can do monthly. And you'll notice when I choose weekly or monthly, I've then got this delivery date option. So for example, we can set it to weekly and send on Monday. We've then got the data type. So we can have new records only. So that would send me the new records every Monday morning. So that would be the new donations since the previous send on the previous Monday. You have new and updated records. So that would be any new records, but also any donation records that have been updated. Or we could have all records. So it might be that every Monday you just want all donations linked to that campaign in your inbox as a CSV export. Just to note, all these reports will send as a CSV. They will download as a CSV as well. We would advise uploading them onto Google Sheets or Excel to then be able to better manipulate the data. So once you've chosen when you want it to send to you and the data type, if we scroll down to the bottom, we've got email options. So you can add in the email addresses to send it to. So this can be individuals, it also can be shared inboxes, and it can be multiple inboxes. So I've to alice@funraisin.co, but then you might want it to be to your donor care team. So you can set it to send to multiple people, multiple inboxes. You can choose a time of day. So we might choose 6 a.m. and also the subject line. If you don't put a subject line, then the subject line will just be the name of the report. And also by default, it will tick password protect this file. You can't change this password, but we would always advise that you do password protect it, just because these reports are probably going to contain a lot of personal information about your supporters. So just as an extra layer of security. You also have SFTP options and API access. We have more support documentation on this if you want to look at that, and you can always submit a support ticket and we can walk you through those steps. But the most common option is email options. So let's call it Summer Run Weekly Donations, my subject line. So once you set that all up, hit save. And then if we were to go back to browse exports and see our list of exports, you can see this donations report is now set to active and send at 6 a.m. each week. One thing we need to update is there's no fields. So until I've added some fields, that won't actually send. If we look at some of these previous reports that have been set up and are being sent, if I would go to edit, you've actually got the send history here. So if I click on send history, you can see who the report has previously been sent to, how many records were included, and the date and time. So you can just see a log of the previous sends. So that's how easy it is to set up your reports to land in your inbox each day, week, or month. So we're now going to have a look at your insights and leaderboards, which are able to give you a quick fire view of what's going on in your campaign without creating an actual specific report. First thing we're going to do is go over to people and go to entrance. And then over here in the left, we're going to go to insights. So what this here is going to do is going to give me a top line view on what's going on my platform. Top right, I have got the option to filter by year. My stats are probably looking a bit awful because, as mentioned, this is a demo platform, but you can see things like the average raised, average number of donations, which hopefully is a bit higher than 1.85. But you can start to see the general interactions on your platform and how much your fundraisers are doing, how much, are they adding profile pictures? Are they self-donating? And this might be areas that you want to have a look at and then start to retarget in your messages module. So start to encourage people who haven't added a profile picture to do just that. And then if you scroll down, there's also some other insights. So you can see what maybe is the most popular day that people are registering, by gender, if that is a question you're asking, and also entries by hour. So quite useful insights if you want to start targeting people to register or complete their registration. You can have a look at this information to see when's a popular day or a particular time of day. And we also have leaderboards. So often with a campaign, you might need to know the top 3 people who are fundraising or those sort of stats. You don't have to go to your front-facing leaderboards. You can actually just have a look here. So let's choose my event, can filter by a specific event, and then you'll have everyone who's in the event and these stats here. So if I want to, I can click on the title. So for example, raised, and it will then do change it from lowest to highest, highest to lowest. So if I click on it again, it's now showing me who's raised the most in ascending order. You can also see average donations, so the average number of donations each person has. This person's obviously doing very well with over 1,000 donations. And likewise, again, if your campaign is doing fitness, you can click on these headers. This is the only person who's added fitness, but you can start to see who has added the most. It's a really useful way of just being able to really quickly see how people are performing without going onto this front-facing leaderboards as such. And you'll quite often see a correlation as well with people who have engaged the most. They might have logged lots of fitness, raised lots of money because they're sort of the most engaged in your campaign. So that's available under entrance. And then if we go to fundraising and we go to donations, and again, we go to insights, this is a really useful section to use mid-campaign. So again, we've got average donation, largest donation, smallest donation, and also the percentage by mobile. We would expect this to be 75% or higher, not 0 as my platform, but you'll start to realize that the majority of the donations are coming via mobile, which is why testing your platform on mobile is one of the most important things you can do. You can see your top performing dollar handles. So a lot of charities might have the same dollar handles across their campaigns. So you can start to see which is the most popular. And then if we scroll down again, you've got those stats of most popular day, an hour, most popular donation amounts, and also the donation types. Obviously we do categorize them in different ways, which we cover in one of our support articles. So you've got your top dollar handles, but I think what is really interesting is also top own amounts. So you can start to see if there's certain popular amounts that your supporters are donating. So mid-campaign, there's no reason why you can't change your dollar handles. So here, £25 is my most popular dollar handle. I appreciate these are only saying 1, but I might see that actually £30 is a really popular handle. So maybe I increase my suggested £25 one to 30. So really good insight to just have a look at and keep an eye on and adjust your dollar handles as the campaign goes on, just to make sure you're continually optimizing. If you've got recurring donations, you've also got the option to see top recurring amounts. You can see top days. So this is a great insight if you're pushing certain marketing, or you might have a match giving campaign, or you've got some ads going out on radio or TV. You can really see if that's made an impact and how much was raised on that day and the number of donations. And also you can see your top donation pages. So if you've got multiple different pages across different campaigns or just different appeals, you can have a really quick view of which one's performing the best with the amount they've raised and the number of donations. So always worth having a look at these areas just to get some top line stats without having to pull reports, and just keeping a track on what's going on with your campaigns. So next up is smart lists, one of my favorite areas. So they're your shortcut to staying on top of constantly changing data. So a smart list is a saved search, but what makes it smart is that it automatically updates twice a day. So instead of running the same search over and over again on your platform, you can save your criteria and let the platform do the work for you. So we're going to go over to our entrance, and we'll go through some examples so you can understand how they work. So in our entrance module, and over here, we're going to click on search. So what we can do is we can put in a specific criteria for entrants, so we can find entrants who meet this criteria, and then we can save that search. So we've got all these options that we can expand. There's so many different options, and obviously the more filters you add, the sort of narrower your results are going to be. So let's find entrants in a specific event who are active and have raised at least £1 or $1. So from the drop down, I'm going to choose my event, my summer 10K. I want people who are active, so their fundraising page is live. And then if we open this section, we're going to say raised over one. And then just to let you know, there are even more options. So there's loads of different things you can filter on, what messages they received, really specific detail about payments, if they're in teams. Oh, that's changed. What else is there? If they're the captain of a team, if they're in a team, if they completed entry, there's so many. But we've done our filters and we're going to click search. So what this has now done is it's created that search criteria, and it's given me a list of people who are active in this specific event. And it's also telling me that they've also raised over £1. You'll notice that, for example, some of these options have a different different name of an event here. That's because this person has more recently entered this event, but that doesn't deter from the fact that they are definitely in the summer 10K and they are active and they've raised over £1. But you can see here they're in a couple of events, which is why recent event is showing a different event. So now that I've created that list, what I can actually do is save that list. So summer 10K, active and above £1. And I'm going to save that list. Now that it's saved, it is saved as a smart list. So what that means is it will keep updating with new people who meet that criteria, who are in that event, who are active and have raised that amount of money. So I don't have to keep performing that same search. Where your smart lists live is down here in tools, and you've got smart lists. So your existing smart lists will live here, and you can click in to edit them, and you can update the criteria, and you can also update the sync. They will sync twice a day, so I think it's around midnight and midday, and you can download this data at any time. When you download it, though, the structure of the report is set in stone. There's not something we can change, but what we can do, and where the magic really happens, is add this smart list as a filter to one of our reports, which we'll cover very, very shortly. But it's a great way to get a really specific list of entrants or donors. So we've created one for our entrants. Now let's go to our donations module and create a smart list for donors. So if we go to fundraising and go to donations, and we go to search donations. So we might want a report of donations to a specific event that are over 100. Mine's showing pounds because my platform is in pounds, but it will show the currency that you are. So let's say you want a report which is all donations over a certain amount in a campaign, and then that report might be something that you are supplying to your donor care team to contact those high value donors to thank them personally. You might want to follow up on all donations that are EFT if you're using that payment method, so that you can have a report of EFT payments so that you can make sure you're checking them to see that they've been paid. If you're in the UK, You might want to filter to create a smart list that is specific to an event and all donations that have opted into gift aid. If I scroll up, so you might want all donations that opted into gift aid so that you can see, you can create a report that's just gift aid eligible donations. There's loads of different options. And again, the more filters you add, the narrower your search results are going to be. But from a very basic look, we're just going to say donations over £100, and let's find, if we choose the event, so let's choose my Summer 10K and then click search. So that's giving me 8 donations that are have been donated to that event and are over a certain value. So again, I can save that as Summer 10K, donations over £100. Save that list, and I've got my smart list. So now that we've created them, next step is adding them to report to create a really specific report with a filter. So once you've created a smart list, you can now apply it directly to a data export. And this means your export only pulls in the records that match your list, so keeping everything really relevant. So we're back in our data exports module, and we're going to click on the pencil icon and edit our fundraisers report. Now scrolling down, we've got this filter section. So previously we looked at these filters and we can add date ranges or filter by event or page, depending on the type of report. But we've also got this option here called Smart List. Now this is only applicable to fundraisers reports and donations reports where you'll have this option. But from the drop down, I'm going to choose my Summer 10K active and raised over £1. I've selected that, and what you'll notice is all these other filters grey out. So this will override those filters. So it doesn't really matter now what was selected here. This is going to override it. So I've added that filter and I can hit save. So now if I were to download this report, it's only going to give me those fundraisers who match that criteria. Every time I download that report, that smart list will update. So if people are constantly registering and in the next hour I have more people become active and raise over £1, the next time I download that report, it's going to pull in those people. So that's why it's smart. It's going to keep looking for those people or those donations that match that criteria and pull them into your report. So whether you're downloading it directly or if you're getting it sent to you, it's going to refresh that search function to pull in the most up-to-date data. And the benefit of doing it this way is that applying it to your existing data exports means you've got full control of the structure of the report. So whereas if you were to download the search results or download via your smart list module, the structure of the CSV that downloads isn't editable. But here, obviously your report is fully editable and you can structure it as you want. It might just be a really small report with 5 fields, but it's pulling in those specific people. So obviously, as mentioned, you can do it with fundraisers, and I could also apply it to my donations report and use my donations smart list. So it's really powerful for building structured, reusable reports that adjust automatically as your data changes. So other examples could be a donations report that is filtered by a smart list that pulls donations over $500. That then runs daily and feeds straight to your donor care team. So they get that information, they can contact those people and build a relationship. Or you might want a fundraisers report that has a smart list, just pulling in incomplete people in a specific event. And then you can download that report and retarget those people to get them to complete their registration. So smart lists are amazing at making your reports really, really specific and really tailored to your needs. So the last section we're going to touch on is reconciliation and your payments and how to best report on this. So I am in reporting and payments. So this module will list out all the individual payments that are on your platform. That can include donations, registration, raffles, merchandise, and it will list everything out. You can click the pencil icon, that will open up the individual transaction record, and then you can see the specifics of that transaction. And down the bottom, you can also download them all. You also have your payouts. So your payouts are when Stripe pays that money into your charity's bank account. Payout frequency is controlled in your Stripe account. So some charities have it daily, some weekly, some monthly. And the information that is fed through to the platform here is information Stripe sends to your platform. So if you click into an individual payout, what it will do, it will list out the payout reference number, the amount that was paid out. This is a bad example because it has nothing in it. Let's go to a different example. So you can see here individual transactions that are linked to that specific payout. Now, if you are using your Stripe account for multiple different platforms, so your fundraising platform might be feeding into your Stripe account, but you might also have some other websites. That is where you'll need to be mindful that this is a good example. The payout was $3,000, but it's actually only showing me 2 donations and it's saying $154. What that means is this payout is made up of transactions that are also from other sources. But what will display on your platform is only the data or only the transactions that are from Funraisin. For a lot of charities, their Stripe account might be just used for Funraisin. Therefore, it will list out all the transactions that relate to that payout. So it will show the transaction total, the fees, and the optional contributions, and you can download them here. However, downloading it here, it will download a CSV, but it's not editable, the structure. So what we would always advise is within your data exports module is a transactions report. So you want the data source to be transactions. And then within that report, you can add all the details, the Stripe reference number, and you can also add the payout number, the payout date, payout status. So that's really, really useful for your finance team to then be able to match out payouts from Stripe with the payout reference number within your transactions report. So yeah, we would definitely recommend always use your transactions report. It will include all transactions from your platform and you can filter it by specific events. We don't suggest using your donations report from reconciliation because a donations report will also include offline donations. So if you have manually added donations to your platform, they'll put into your donations report, whereas they would not put into your transaction report. Transaction report would only be transactions transacted through your platform. So hopefully that helps you with your reconciliation.